The other day, I was having a conversation with a dear friend who happens to also be a really smart friend. And he was asking me, you heard this thing happening in church circles. We're talking church circles because he and I are both pastors. But he says, have you heard this thing where people are using the phrase, you don't want to miss this? After an invitation to an event or the declaration of here's what's happening at Sunday, we're talking about this. You don't want to miss this. And it was something that we both were kind of like scratching our heads, like, what is that about? And I have not really been able to shake it for the last few days. And one of the things that comes to mind and why that phrase bothers me is because if we use that as a way of coercing or manipulating or trying to push people towards doing something we want them to do, we're doing something where we may end up violating them and their personhood, and maybe they've got a whole nother plan of something that would be best for them to do that day. Or maybe they're in a spot where what they really need is a time for rest and recreation and relaxation and embracing the rhythm that they're going to live in and walk in. And by us, as pastors functioning in a position of authority in the world that we live in, I don't want to equate it like somehow you're letting God down or you're letting the church down if you don't participate in that. And I start out this whole conversation by using church because that's, again, my sphere that I work in and I live partly in. But it really is something that can apply towards an invitation to family members as we would think about gathering for the holidays, or as there's an event that we're going to and we'd like to include others. Just that subtle little you don't want to miss this can be something that is like, oh, what does that mean? It's like something going to happen if I'm not there, or there's information that's going to come out that is, if I miss it, that somehow something bad's going to happen, or does this mean I'm not going to be liked by them anymore or received by them? I don't know. There's a lot of potential baggage that goes along with it. But my hope is that even by, this short and poorly launched thought process or wondering about, you don't want to miss this, what is it that we do by feeding our own and other people's FOMO, our fear of missing out? We steal or maybe encourage them to let us steal their peace and their contentment and their ability to be where they are. I've heard it said there's a very influential psychiatrist named Dr. Christian Conti, and he has said, when what you're doing is truly meaningful to you, there will be no fear of missing out. And my hope is that when we do an invitation for church, or we're inviting people to our homes, or we're doing something where we want to include people, we can just leave it at the inclusion and then allow people to engage at their own pace. Because honestly, not everyone is going to want to or be able to engage in all the things that would be available to them, and probably shouldn't. And we don't want to make it, by we, I'm talking about me and the mouse in my pocket, we don't want to make it worse for people by laying that extra thick over the top of, like somehow they're letting us down personally, or our relationship with you will change if you don't be here, if you miss this. So I'm hoping there's a little bit of encouragement in this to, it's okay to stay home. It's okay to rest. It's okay to walk in a good rhythm. Don't let yourself be pushed or bullied into doing things that don't fit you. At the same time, don't go to the opposite extreme and withdraw and be so isolated that you're not interacting with people and you lose the power of connection and community, because that's very much needed. So I'm sure there's a tightrope in there, and it's definitely food for thought, but I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of when you hear you don't want to miss this? God bless you. Have a great rest of your week.